So let's talk about these recent videos from the grapevine. We're going to speak about egalitarianism, roles being reversed, gender roles. We're going to talk about hypergamy and discuss feminists and the type of men they create and apparently they don't want. Really quick to interject this, as far as the gold digger conversation, I've done videos about that earlier on, and I don't have an issue with gold diggers. My issue is gold givers. But in their gold digging video, they were doing the chick broke it down saying that since we don't have an equivalent for gold digging for men, and this is the woman who admitted she's hypergamous, but also at the same time complaining about, wanting men on a certain level and status or whatever. And she's not, she's practicing hypergamy too. But she also said some statement about monogamy benefits men, which is confusing because, and I got her logic, right? Because if a woman was in a system where polygamy was legal and whatnot, a lot of men wouldn't have women because the rich, wealthier men would have all the women, right? So that's understood, but she's ignoring the fact that a lot of women who are feminists don't subscribe to that logic, right? So they would do whatever they can do to rebel against that system in the first place. But one thing that wasn't stated in the video, because they were doing a whole men calling women gold diggers, I think there's a fine line, a very fine line between gold digging and hypergamy. I guess it really boils down to simply, if a woman is using a dude without his knowledge, if he's just dumb, that's his fault. But I'm saying, if he's not getting anything in return, and he's spending resources, time, and energy on her, and there's nothing there she's not giving anything back, that's what I would call a gold digger. Everything about the relationship is solely upon the resources. Hypergamy is simply an exchange of goods. Youth and beauty, wealth and resources. That's an even exchange that's been going on since the beginning of time. Before it was money, it was food and shelter and things of that nature, right? But what they don't talk about in the video, though, on the gold digger video, is that a lot of women who are black, like they act like saying when black women ask for resources, when black women want to marry up, they're gold diggers. Like, no, but put this shit in perspective. It's like we have a bootleg pseudo matriarchy. So, we have black men who grew up with egalitarianism. You know what I mean? We watch Strong and Independent our whole lives. So don't just, fourth quarter armchair throw in saying, aha, black women can't even be hypergamous because black men don't want them to be, only white women can do that. Like, no. Don't act brand new. Don't act like you don't acknowledge where we come from. And then also don't ignore how a lot of feminists, a lot of women like Deborah Cooper and others, when a black man does lead with his resources, when he does say this is what I got, when he does smell himself, y'all quick to shut him down. Y'all quick to tell him that don't matter. Y'all quick to bring up y'all degrees and y'all education like he gives a shit. But those were elements missing from that gold digger conversation. The reality is black women, as Sarge says, they suck at gold digging. They can't keep their mouth closed long enough to get the gold, right? That's not, women haven't acknowledged that. Whereas other women who understand this exchange, they will feed the ego. They will let him beat his chest. They understand what the purpose is and what they need to do to get what they want. Well, a lot of sisters ain't trying to hear that. They ain't trying to do that. They don't want him beating his chest. If you start beating your chest, you're going to start beating hers. And then that's when the problem comes in, when he ain't really trying to deal with all that. You know what I mean? He going to go to a structure that may already be established by other men, but at least they already comprehend the exchange between men and women.
Not even interested.
Oh, so now I'm getting punished because I went and bought something special for our house?
That's right, Joan. Our house. Which means we make decisions together. One of us doesn't run off and does what she wants when she wants it. We still got the rest of the house to fix up.
I know that.
Didn't act like it. Not to mention the wedding to pay for. Hell, Still paying for your engagement ring.
You still paying for that little ring? Yeah, girl, get your stove.
I got my stove, Monica.
And the tile I didn't want.
Because it matched my towels.
And the fancy cabinets. And the new dishes you didn't show me. So I put my foot down for this one thing and you
I thought this was a partnership. I thought we made decisions together. I didn't realize you could put your foot down. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was living with a man who had 1950s head of the household issues.
Oh, well, someone has to have the final say. Not that I would have the final say. I'm just saying someone has to say it finally.
Damn right. And I said it.
If you want to be head of the household, you need to make some head of the household money.
So, to give a little recap, there was a video, well, I think last week, or the last video, it was about gold diggers. And in that specific video, Ashley, the host, and the woman sitting next to her both admitted that they were practicing hypergamy. That they had expectations for men to be either equal or above them. That's why it's kind of, it's confusing to watch the video a little bit about men being intimidated by successful women, because they don't really say what they want to say in the video, and I'll get to that. But in this video, the sister next to her in a video about the hoteps, she went on her rant about how she doesn't like the fact that those type of men don't believe in female leadership or egalitarianism or things of that nature. And she's like, forget that, I'm a leader, I'm gonna be in this position, blah, blah, blah. Yet she still is another woman who wants to play both sides. She's a little bit anti-patriarchal, right? All these women are anti-patriarchal, but obviously they like elements of the patriarchy, right? They want to keep some of it. Now, to be consistent, there's one particular feminist, the one who always loses her thought, the other Nigerian chick. She's consistent in her arguments throughout the videos. In fact, she has a hard time articulating herself sometimes, but she even said it in the video that women, she didn't say it plainly enough, but women like Ashley and the other sister next to her, they keep men wanting to participate in the patriarchy, right? Because they understand that the stuff that Mouse is on, and we don't get to him, is not what they really want. Now, in one clip in the Gold Diggers video, the biracial dude, who for all intents and purposes is pretty much he's his own point simp, he stated that, in the conversation about gold diggers, he said, the problem that we look at is when it's regular guys, when we see a dude who can't really afford it, and the woman can't afford to go to certain places and certain things herself, but she has 4 different guys stretching their pockets to woo her or to court her for her attention and time. He said that's who normally guys look at as like, like you're dumb, like you can't even afford it, and she's not really even feeling you. That's where the problem is for other men looking at that situation. Actually, the host, double downing on her hypergamous nature and understanding the exchange between men and women, she says, well, don't men use women for sex? So in her mind, there's nothing wrong with a woman using her youth and beauty to attract a man who's stupid, to spend resources he doesn't have, knowing damn well she's not really feeling him, and she's getting that from other men as well. So that's just context to keep that in context. That's just things to keep in context for this conversation. Now, Mouse represents the entirety of this dialogue, right? So I knew his response was going to be in the conversation in the video about being intimidated by a woman. he represented the whole I can lead on a woman's dime. Now, a lot of people will say you can't do that. Even my guy Carl, who on the show, he's probably the one I can relate to the most, and I understood what he was saying. In theory, no, you can't, really manage somebody else's money that you're not making and make decisions with cash that you don't have. In theory, that's correct, but we know that that does happen, right? We know for a fact that there are dudes, dropping their chick off at the hospital. She about to put that 16-hour shift in. He's off chilling with her BMW. There are some dudes that are swagnificant enough to pull that off. Does that last? Does it work? Do we agree with that? Do we want to promote that? No. But these men do that, right? Let's not act like it does not happen. There are dudes leading on a chick's dime. They do that, right? Whether we use it or not, doesn't matter. It does happen, right? But Mouse said that kind of, sort of, in that video, right? And I'm not mad at him because he's being consistent. He's giving out the same level of energy that he's always given. But it's interesting, this breakdown here where, there was the video, I think, about Hoteps, where the lady who was sitting next to Ashley, went full matriarchy / feminism with the whole I'm gonna lead and I can do this and I can do what a man does. And then Mouse had his little breakdown where he damn near teared up talking about Black Lives Matter and how women are the forefront of the community and the leaders and they can build and they can do all this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of the women got their panties wet over that statement. But it's amazing how they don't get the disconnect that men who think like Mouse, men who have no problem putting women in leadership positions and following women, are usually not the men that will build and maintain anything for a woman. Mouse represents that. Now, what's interesting though is that, again, like Ashley and other women on the show, and even the feminists, they all claim to be against patriarchy and they want to destroy it. The feminists are more consistent with the arguments, but then you have the traditional / feminists, which a lot of women represent that. I did the video. She says she's traditional, but she was more egalitarian with a spice of matriarchy. And in that video, I was discussing with a female friend, and she hit me with the whole, I'm traditional, and she thought that stunned me or something. She hit me with the, oh, you surprised by that? And I'm like, no, I'm just getting my popcorn ready because I know you're full of shit. After I ask you a couple questions, you gonna say to me, you're really gonna expose what you really are. It's like when you're debating with an atheist, right? The type of atheist that blames God on all the problems in the world and why they don't believe in him, right? Those type of atheists. But by the end of the conversation, you realize they believe in God, they just don't like him. And they concede to the point that they're agnostics, right? So when you have this conversation with a lot of American women, educated black sisters who claim to be traditional, after a few questions and a few dialogues, they let you know, like, nah, I'm more egalitarian, and it ends up being matriarchy, right? Same way like how you correlate it to how capitalism, socialism is a little bitch that becomes the big bitch, communism, right? But then both those isms end up being destroyed by capitalism. Egalitarianism ends up turning into matriarchy because the type of men who are cool with egalitarianism and believe women can be leaders, there's something about them that's different than a cutthroat patriarchal alpha male, right? So the same way that capitalism kills socialism and communism, patriarchy ends up killing egalitarianism and matriarchy, right? That makes sense. But Mouse, again, he's consistent in his argument, and it's funny how when he makes those statements about women in leadership, when we can do this, when we can do that, but when it comes to the relationship, right, Ashley straight up stated, I'm not struggling, I believe in hypergamy, I'm not doing that, I need to do it on my level, I need to do, or above me, right? And even Mouse stated he did not believe that Ashley would acquiesce or would submit to a dude who's in a better financial position than she is. So the fact that he doesn't believe her when she said she would, even though she already said in the Gold Digger video that she is hypergamous and she is going to practice that, he knows her personally, so he sees the confusion in her argument too, right? the reality is this, right? A lot of these women, Mouse represents the kind of women that feminists create, right? And I did that video too, where, you know, I showed you, that was a really good video, I'll link that, but these young high school dudes who were talking about they were feminists and stuff like that. And the reality is how many women don't really like those type of men that they create. I mean, there's so many articles from white feminists who are like, all right, now, we went a little bit too far with this stuff. We want to go back a little bit. We did too much. Like, that's, you know, white women are going through that phase. They've been going through that for a while. Black women, they go back and forth, right? Because that's the confusion, right? They're traditional slash feminists, right? They want to play both parts. They want, you know, egalitarianism and all that in a workplace and education and opportunities and leadership. But when they come back to their relationship, they don't want those things. And I'm saying that's one of the problems I see too, with even when you have an on-point dude who has stuff together, because we grew up just like Mouse, believing in egalitarian, women and men are equal, and yada yada. Even when he has his shit together, he's dating a chick that has hers together, but, you know, like a lot of these women, they want to put the cape on and take it off. They want to be Superwoman, and then when they come back, and then when they get tired or when it gets rough, they want to fall back. And if a guy did not sign up for that, he not really, you know, it caused an issue, because she's thinking like, oh, he got enough money where he can provide for us and I can fall back in my career. But that's not what he signed up for. It's not what he talked about. He thinking like, damn, I got me this, you know, empowered, you know, beautiful, strong black woman who is gonna go out there and kick ass. And then she's like, nah, this kicking ass is hard. And then he might even be cool with her, the morph that happens when she can't turn off, right? Because it's the power couple thing. He's not intimidated by her abrasiveness or her lack of femininity, right? Because he's cool. He knew what he signed up for. He was like, I'm good with that, right? But she's not good with the fact that, well, he won't let me stay home. Not that he's not in a position to not do that. That's just not what he signed up for. And I'm saying, I've said this before many times, that for women who want to be stay-at-home wives, it's not that deep. Just make sure you pick a stay-at-work husband. It's just that simple, right? Don't come into it on the fourth quarter, start making these calls and plays thinking like, oh, this is supposed to happen. And in a patriarchal system, that happens all the time. Women go to college, they go on all this debt. They're like, I don't want to do this. You know, baby comes. She's like, man, I like staying home. But that's a patriarchal setting. That's something that these other black women claim they want to destroy and tear down. They just want elements of it. But that happens all the time in a structure like that, in an intact structure. But we don't have that in the black community. We're promoted with a lot of matriarchy and a lot of egalitarianism. And then you got the men who probably never saw a traditional situation, or they had a father who was on point, but he was a simp, so the woman really controlled things. So that brings up a whole nother level of confusion and whatnot. But a lot of these brothers who are in the position, we're not talking about those who are not, they didn't sign up for this traditional situation. They were taught and told that this is how it's supposed to be. Men and women are equal, and they're gonna hold you to that same standard. And that's exactly what Mouse was trying to do. Even though he said he's gonna be traditional and protect and provide, and I know protecting and providing, it's not just finance. Women need protection emotionally, physically, all the other stuff too. So it's not just the financial aspect of it, but that's an important part, right? If you don't have the finances and resources, you're not really protecting her emotionally either, right? But Mouse said that, you know, I'm going to lead and do this and do that, even though you make more than me. And the women are like, hell no. You can even hear his balls drop when the one African sister said, you know, we make mistakes by getting with men who are not on our level. You heard that shit though. I mean, you heard this nutsack, right? And I'm saying it's a shocker because, again, Mouse and men like him, a lot of us do this, right? A lot of us, we hear strong and independent, we hear all this stuff, we hear black girls magic, black girls rock, even though those are coping mechanisms brought out of a messed up situation. But when we hear all this, and then we hear all the complaining and nagging, and we be like, well, you do it. When you do this and you do that, right? People just want to fall back. Like, we're not trying to argue and fight and all this stuff. So it's like, hey, do that. When sometimes that's not really what women want. They just don't say it. But there was a video, and I might try to put the audio in if I find it. I don't put her face on it because she's a flagger. Feminist Jones did this video a long time ago, and she was going in, which I thought was she was just going on a traditional men. I assume at the time she was dating brothers, but she was going in on traditional on-point men. And that's kind of what happened. And this is what was not said in this video. Actually, they didn't say it. The whole conversation was really pretty much revolved around men who were insecure, intimidated or whatever, or insecure of being with women who are less successful than them. But Ashley already stated that she was practicing hypergamy, and she's not going to do that. So what they did not say, because again, the whole conversation was revolved around the dude who's lower than or less than the woman, or she's dating down. What they're not really saying is that they want men who are on point to be cool with what these women are on, right? They want men to want intelligent women or successful women too, and that's their problem. They didn't say that, but that's what it really boils down to. And back to the Feminist Jones thing, she did this video where I thought she was just, I'm like, at first I'm thinking like, oh, this is just one of them feminists going in on black men, blah, blah, blah. But then that's not really what it was about. It was more so attacking them for not choosing them, right? I'm thinking like all this freaky role reversal, matriarchy shit that black Feminist Jones speaks about. I'm thinking, yo, you could have a whole shitload of men like Mouse who would compliment that and give that to you. But for some reason, the type of men that these feminists create, they don't want them. And Feminist Jones, you know, she pretty much stated that in so many words. And she did the same thing that Donovan, his mustache. Again, why are these gay dudes in these conversations about black men and black women in relationships? Why do black women, because in the comment section, he thought he came back at Carl, which Carl comment was beautiful. A lot of women are selling something that the market isn't buying. And he's talking about a lot of modern women are selling something that men who are in a position just don't want. And that's the real problem going on in the video. They don't care about men who can't provide and protect and lead all that stuff and aren't in a position financially. They don't care what they do. They love them for their lip service, but they're not going to be with them, right? I'm talking about traditional side feminists. The actual feminists, some of them, like the one on the show, she was consistent in her argument. But then you have women like Feminist Jones who she's basically said, she's like, well, why won't you be with women like us instead of them dumb bitches? So basically she was saying men who date down shouldn't be doing that. Those men should be with us. That's what their argument is. They won't say that, but that's what it all boils down to. And Donovan said the same thing when he was talking about, well, if the guy's with the woman, she's more smarter than him or whatever, he doesn't want her, he wants to be with some dumb bitch. Think about that, right? These are people who claim to be feminists about women's equality and all that, but they're referring to women who choose to cooperate with a patriarchal system, who choose to cooperate with hypergamy, who choose to be okay with being a housewife or take a position or a job that gives supplemental income, or, you know what I mean? They have an issue with men choosing those women, particularly on point men who are in a position that can choose those women. That's what it all boils down to. And Carl said that shit so beautiful, man. He's like, man, I can keep putting out the market all you want, but the market's not buying it. Donovan does his moist ass thing where he's condescending, arrogant. He again proves why I agree with Osage Jackson, why homosexual black men should not be a part of the manosphere for the most part, because many of them like to usurp and they think the world revolves around them. And it's like weird how in the comment section, because what Carl said was slick as shit, like, the shit was on point, and a lot of women didn't like it because it came off wrong, even though Ashley and the sister that was sitting next to her and all the traditional flag feminists agree with what Carl was saying in theory. The one feminist Nigerian chick who claims she can't marry dudes from her own Igbo tribe because they're just too patriarchal. Again, she has a hard time articulating herself and always loses her train of thought. She's really trying to tell women like Ashley and the other co-hosts and the traditional slash feminists that they need to chill with what they're talking about, because it pushes men to want to be more patriarchal. It pushes men to want to lead and compete and do all those things, which they want to destroy. So she's consistent with her argument. The problem really is these women who play both sides and they want to be, again, feminists by day, traditionalists by night. That's the issue. But back to Donovan Ass, man. It's funny because again, like in the comment section, a lot of women were happy and cheering his comeback at Carl when Carl was 100% correct. And for the women who claimed to be hypergamous and traditional, everything he said was on point. And Donovan has this idea of this, because even when you talked about it in the video, our trans women gay, he did the same thing, telling, you know, like he speaks from a position of, well, I'm on the right side of history, this matriarchal, women leading, gay black men in leadership of power. Not to mention, this is a dude who said he can be pro-black, not only in being gay, but also dating white men as well. But he has this delusion of this utopia that he wants to create, and he somehow tells the men who don't subscribe to that they're just wrong, they're on the wrong side of history, I can't work with you, on some like, did we ask to work with you? Right? Like the brothers on the Hotep conversation were saying like, yo, we just don't co-sign homosexuality stuff, yada yada yada. No, you're wrong, you can't think like that. That's the new argument, by the way, too. It's like, it's not even a debate about whether or not you co-sign it, or you believe in it, or you accept it, or you want to promote it, or you want to push it. Now it's just like, no, you're an idiot if you don't believe that this is acceptable, normal behavior, and if you don't cheerlead or co-sign it and fight for the rights of gays, then you're just wrong and stupid, and you don't need to exist. That's their argument now, right? It ain't even, it's beyond just simple tolerance now. But it's funny how in the comment section, women were happy that Donovan clapped back. And it's funny how women constantly let white feminists speak for them. They let women who are half of them represent them and speak for them too. And they let gay black men speak for them, when in reality, although it sounded good because it was a clapback at what Carl was saying, which is what women really want, he gonna have y'all cash writing checks that y'all can't cash, right? Like, you let people speak for you. It kind of reminds me of Sheryl Sandberg's book Lean In, when not only is that book not for black women, it's not for most Americans, because most white American women are not in a position to do what she was saying in that book, which was basically telling their husbands to tuck their nuts, and they should not pursue their careers, and they should be the ones to stay home and do more of the housework and things of that nature. But that wasn't, I mean, there was later on a dialogue where black women came on like months later saying like, well, what about us? I'm like, it wasn't for you. It wasn't even for most white women. So, you know damn sure it wasn't for you. But in regards to those, like, black women help push and use that book for motivation, and the 1 or 2% of black women who are in that position might and can relate to that. But even them, are they really asking for house husbands and men to be cool with that? Maria Lloyd from Dr. Boy's Walk Camp, and I did a video about it years ago. I didn't upload it because it was more of a rant, but she basically had an article. I don't know if she wrote it or somebody, one of her writers, but it was basically an article for, you know, an educated black woman to get how to pretty much deal with bitch ass dudes who you know, date who they're more intelligent than or more successful than. It's like these women are like, oh, I got my degrees, I'm gonna make this amount of money, blah blah blah. The chances of me being with somebody who's on my level is not gonna happen. So basically, here's a bunch of list of rules and things you can do to not make your dude who's beneath you feel bad. Right? That's what she's on. And again, but the women in this conversation, apart from the feminists, they're not on that. And I would beg to differ. If I don't know if the feminist chick, I mean, she said she was cool with Roe v. and all that, but I don't know. She didn't really voice whether or not if finance is a standard. You had the one black, I think she's Black American feminist, who did say the whole, you know, trope of, well, I've been with men who are really, really rich, and she pretty much said they were all assholes, right? So that's that line that a lot of times when, you know, dudes hear women talk about finances and dudes who don't have it, they always bring that up. And they wonder why we do that, because that image is promoted in our society. It's always in movies and television and whatnot, the dude who has the money, Titanic, the rich white dude in that patriarchal situation who's gonna marry Rose, pale ass. He was a complete asshole. Who did she choose? She chose Leonardo DiCaprio, who couldn't do nothing for her. It exposes male disposability. He ends up dying for her, but you know, that's the whole, when you marry for love instead of marrying for business, which was marriage was intended to be about. But I just think it shit is weird. I just like the contrast between, because I knew it was going to come eventually, where you see in the first video about gold diggers, and you see, well, first you see Mouse's reaction to women leadership and all the women who think that they should be in an equal playing field and they shouldn't be seen as any less. But then you see the transition from some of the women when it comes to relationships and how they have certain expectations. But then you flip it, and then the men who buy into egalitarianism and stuff, they're confused because it's like, well, wait a minute, I've been praising you and putting you on pedestals and saying we can't do this without you, but you won't even date me because I'm not on your financial level. It's just funny seeing it all put together. Then you realize that, you know, the argument is from some of these traditional size feminist women, and even some feminists like Feminist Jones in that video she did. Again, her argument, at first she was like, damn, she just coming in at men and going off on men who are successful and got their shit together. No. She's mad that they're not choosing them. And that's why Carl's statement was fucking beautiful. You can put in the market a product all you want, but if nobody buying it, you're wasting your time. And that's the problem. That's, instead of actually saying, why won't successful men be cool with a man as their equal, right? If you're acknowledging that you're dating up and you practice hypergamy, that would mean that the man is somehow dating down. They don't want to look at it that way. They don't want to acknowledge that that's what he's doing. And then many successful men prefer that situation. They prefer to date a woman who's not as intelligent as them or down. The same situation happened on Diamond Radio with her co-host, where she was also going off on men who aren't choosing them. That's the problem between all these last 3 or so videos that I'm picking from to put this piece together. They did not say it in the video, but that is the problem. They don't. Ashley is not going to date a dude like Mouse. She already said that. So him being intimidated by her is irrelevant. Any dude who's beneath a woman who, like, you shouldn't even be with each other, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The problem is, and Donovan also pretty much said it when he referred to the woman who the man chose over the intelligent woman as a bitch. This is the guy who a lot of y'all like letting speak for y'all. The gay man who none of this stuff affects him at all. Like, this ain't got nothing to do with him. He's gay and a swirler, right? But y'all letting him speak for you. Y'all all happy he clapped at my man Carl in the comment section. It is what it is. Trying to recap real quick. Seeing if I missed anything. I know I reiterated stuff, but Carl was correct. I think Ashley's comments and who she is represents one of the problems in this situation of you know, relationships where there's the confusion of what really people really want. You can't. A lot of times people, you know, get upset, even in conservative spaces, when the same scenario I mentioned about how the dude who has his stuff together and he's getting with the woman, and they're bitching and crying about that too, right? But you can't just have you can't just at the last minute, fourth quarter, call this play, right? You got to have these discussions before time and have these plans before you get married. You can't just, and that's why these dialogues are actually good, so people can know what's going on. But we have to recognize that everything and everybody. And I forgot to preference my video when I say this, but when I talk about this, because I have several videos on the topics of role reversal, matriarchy, and all that, because it's a very popular topic. It's whatever works for you and your family, it works for you and your family. Like, that's not a concern that I share. But we can be realistic about what's going on, you know, why so many divorces happen, and you know, how women really feel about these things. I don't think enough of that said. People going into this blind and end up it not working out. A lot of people being resentment. A lot of men feel emasculated, or you know, they're surprised. Again, you listen to Mouse early on in the video after he made his first statement in that video. Listen to the African chick was like, "Yo, we make the mistake of getting with men that we're more successful than," right? But I think that it was messed up that they didn't really say what they really wanted to mean. They don't care about the men who are not successful being intimidated by them. They care about the men who are successful and are on their level, but won't date them because that's not what they want. That's what it's really about. That's what they fail to discuss. And again, Donovan, this dude has this fictitious world where, you know, everything patriarchal and traditional is gonna die and go away, and him and his white lover and black feminist and are going to all band together and form Voltron and take over the world. I don't know what the hell dude is talking about. Like I said before, patriarchy will always win. Egalitarianism ends up turning to matriarchy, and they always get destroyed. I don't know what he's talking about. That's pretty much it. Probably another video if I remember what else I wanted to say.
Women, get to know them. Talk to these women. When you see them, I can't, if I had $1 for every kind of networking and social event I go to where I see nothing but beautiful, brilliant, hardworking, successful women who are all single, I would be rich. And I think that when you consider, there was some study, I talked about this on Twitter, where it said that men are more likely to choose women they feel don't have a lot of options. Think about that. So that can be deemed by a woman's looks, by her career position, by her education, things like that. It seems like the more that a woman has going for her, the more men are likely to think that she's got all these extra options and she's going to leave him at some time, or she's going to cheat, or she's, whatever situation is. Don't do that. Don't think about that. Yes, I'm still wiping my sweat. Don't think about that. Just really kind of focus on the fact that we all have vulnerabilities. We all have emotional needs. We all have things that we seek in partners that we cannot fulfill ourselves. And I think that that's part of what makes us wonderful as women, that we can be all these things. But I'm just getting a little bothered by this increased resentment and pushback against independent women. And I look at the recession, I look at the economy, I see how those things are, affecting it. But it's got to stop. It's got to stop, because when you think about the people you want raising your kids, the women that you want raising your kids, influencing your daughters, being role models, who do you want? You want the ambitious woman. You want the woman with a strong mind. You want the woman that can think through different situations and function well in various parts of society. You want all of that. That's the woman that's going to hold you down at home. That's the woman that's going to be there for you and be able to actually help you out when things are going, tough. You don't want the dumb broad who, is only good to be a nut receptacle. That's just not what life is about, right? So, women, don't fear being that independent woman. Don't give in to this nonsense that independent women are unappealing and men don't want them. They do. It's just hard for them to admit sometimes that that's what they want when they haven't reached a certain place in their life where they think that they should be. Mama's couch waiting for her to let them know when dinner's ready. So you chilling. So you don't have to worry. You don't have to answer to anybody. You're not responsible for him in any regard. I want to speak to the men a little bit. Like, you don't have to fear a so-called independent woman. What is wrong with a woman who has gone and gotten an education? She has figured out what she wants to do as a career. She has pursued that. She has established herself in it. She continues to build herself and wants to ascend higher. She wants to make more connections. She wants to have a greater impact on the world. She wants to earn a good amount of money. She's interested in having children, but she wants to make sure that the life that she establishes and prepares for them is one that, they'll have a good life. She thinks for herself. She can form, articulate thoughts, and she could speak about a variety of things, from hip-hop music to world affairs to water shortages in Africa. I mean, she can do all of those things. She can go outside in the club and she can shake her ass, and she can go to your family reunion and she can show deference to your favorite aunt. I mean, this is the kind of woman that you would think most men, or heterosexual men at least, would be interested in having, and yet we still see this resentful pushback against those kinds of women. And I think the primary reason for, oh my God, I am working up a black sweat. Okay, anyway, I think the pushback from that You know, I think one of the reasons that is because this is assumption that if a woman is independent, then she doesn't need a man, right? So again, we go back to this notion that society says that men are supposed to provide. They're supposed to work, they're supposed to pay for things, they're supposed to take care of their family, and they focus so much on the material and the financial possessions, right? And so when a woman has all of that and she's paying her rent or her mortgage, she's got her own car, pays her car note, she goes shopping, she doesn't ask anybody for anything, she becomes somebody he sees, well, she doesn't need me, so why am I there? And then that goes into, if a woman doesn't need me, she probably will leave me. And then part of that, even if we want to go a little bit further, is I don't think I'm worth much to this woman. What am I contributing to her life? Why would she want me? So we go from independent equals lonely and fuck these independent women to I'm not good enough. And we have to, as men and women, we have to kind of look at that connection there. And so I would implore the women, because some of us do come off with that whole like, you know, I don't need a man for shit and I can do all my own. Okay, like, yeah, you got all that, but who is taking care of your emotional needs, right? Who is loving you when you're sad? When you come home from the board meeting and they rejected your proposal, who's there to listen and talk to you and provide you with that hug and that, baby, it's going to be okay? So as women, we need to realize and recognize that there are needs that we can handle and we can take care of, but then there's some needs that a partner, you know, probably would fulfill better, and we have to remain open to that and be careful to not create those walls that make people feel like we don't need them for shit, right? But then at the same time, men, don't assume that just because a woman is all of these things that she does not need you, that she will not respect you as a man, that she won't show appreciation for what she considers your role is as a man in her house, in the relationship, and things like that.
I think women, here's my thing, I think women have the worst selling point. Like when I hear women talk, it's the worst selling point. Like a woman tell you something like, oh, I pay my own bills. You grown.
You still, exactly.
Like, what is that? Like, that's like me saying,
I brush my own teeth.
Right, I brush my own teeth.
Every morning. Right. Good job.
I make love to I don't rape none of my women. What's that to brag on? Like, I rape none of them.
That's the truth, though.
What's a good selling point for women?
What you got
It's exemplary. It has to be an example. She can't sell it.
A woman.
She can't sell it.
No, she has to be that thing.
A woman wants a man who can take care and provide, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, here's the thing.
Right.
If you can take care of yourself, why is that still on your standard? Like a man, like a woman don't have to take care of me. So her taking care of me is not on my list of things I need from a woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So everything she's telling me,
Don't
if it
matter.
ain't on my list, it don't even matter. It's
matter.
baggage.
It don't matter.
You know what I'm
True.
saying?
I agree.
So it's like I was like, well, I got a degree. Well, I might just need for you to just work out. Do you work out? If you don't work out,
I
you
agree.
can tell me all this
That
stuff.
workout thing is important to you, ain't it?
It's the truth, though. I can't
It's the
use
truth.
you.
It's the
You know
truth,
what I'm saying?
man.
It's like having a Swiss Army knife, you know what I'm saying? But I can't do nothing with it, though. You know what I'm saying?
It's the
Like
truth.
well, I got a bottle. I ain't got no models, though. So, like,
It's
it's
true.
like, what can you do with her?
It's the truth.